Welcome into episode 487 of the Skate Podcast. I am Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. Bridget and Scott, the Bruins are heading out west to Las Vegas for a game on Thursday night. But so far, they're 3-1-0 to start the season. They did suffer their first loss on Monday against the Tampa Bay Lightning, a well-fought loss after a slow start. And, of course, they got to 3-0 after beating the Buffalo Sabres over the weekend. So lots to talk about, but how are you two doing?
I'm good. I'm a little jealous that I'm missing out on, as Casey Middlestad called it, bonding in Las Vegas. They flew out right after Monday's game, so they have Tuesday as an off day there, then Wednesday practice and the Thursday game. So I think they probably got in early enough Monday night to have a night on the town. So
they're probably all still asleep right now. Then. It's 10 a.m. by the way for people.
Well, yeah, especially because it's only 7 a.m. Vegas time. So
very true.
Yeah, they got like another 5 hours of sleep.
If we did skate pod bonding, right? What would our budget allow us for? Probably not Foxwoods, probably not the Encore, probably Twin River, maybe a night at Twin River.
Yeah, I was gonna say like some Augustus chicken bites. That might be
good too.
Our budget is whatever is in your wallet, Brian. Whatever you're willing to give.
Augustus it is. Augustus it is. I went to Twin River when I was in college, and when I go to casinos, which I don't do often because I suck at gambling, I just play roulette. I play the outside. You know, I take out 100 or whatever, and I see how I do. And if I get some winnings, then I'll play with my winnings and I'll put my buy-in aside. And there was this one time at Twin River where I was up pretty good, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna hold it. And I'm gonna take it easy for a second. And then I want to say it was 10 or 12 in a row. I was betting red, and it was 10 or 12 in a row on black. And I said, all right, well, number 14, I'm feeling pretty good about this. So I'm gonna go in a little bit here. And it was an immature move. I should have probably taken a little bit easier. But I said, hey, what's the odds it happens 14 in a row on black, right? Well, so then they spin it, and guess what it landed on? 0. Green. Oh, yeah. Yep. And so half my winnings went away right then and there. And then from there, it's just an absolute snowball effect, and I ended up losing. And yeah, that was that. So no more gambling for Brian. So Augustus sounds good, Scott.
No more roulette.
Yeah.
We don't gamble, but I will say I bet they did go out and have a good time last night. Because one time when I was in Nashville, I saw the Penguins out until 3 a.m. at it was at Keith Urban's bar on Broadway in Nashville, and they were all there, including Sid. And yeah, that if they have a day, because they had the next day, they just had practice. And ironically, I also saw Sydney walking to practice with just holding his hockey stick in his bag, just walking down the street. But yeah, they'll go out and have fun. Probably.
Were you more starstruck then, or when you saw him at Four Nations in the locker room?
Always starstruck.
Equally starstruck, always.
Definitely always the same level. I could meet anyone, and it wouldn't be as bad as how nervous I was when I met him.
Scott, you ever get starstruck before?
No, only because I haven't met Bruce Springsteen yet.
Okay, all right.
That'd be it. I'm still holding hope that happens someday.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, you know what, Scott? Didn't you mention maybe this may have been a long time ago, and maybe I'm making this up completely, so sorry if I am. But didn't you mention that there was some Bruins legends back in the day, your first time seeing them, you were I don't know if you were just starting out in media, but you were kind of taken back a little bit, obviously, which I'm sure most.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain. It's a little weird because it's you're kind of in awe. I don't know if it's full on starstruck, but the first time you talk to Bobby Orr or Johnny Busick, or I met Milt Schmidt once before he passed. It's that there is definitely an element of kind of just being in awe that this person's actually in front of you and you're talking to them. It is a little different to me when it's as part of the job, and because I think in all those cases it was some sort of media availability, or they were around media, maybe they were in the media dining room or something. So like that's always a little different to me versus like if I were to just run into them out in the world somewhere. But yeah, like that does kind of do like the old timers, the legends, the Hall of Famers for sure.
Well, I'll try my best to not be starstruck with you two on the episode today, but why don't you kick us off with your opening shift, Scott?
Yeah, so I kind of wrote this for WEI.com, but I feel like we learned two things about the Bruins on Monday, and one is that, yeah, as expected, they cannot make catastrophic mistakes that lead to goals against, of which they made several in this game, which we can get into. They go down 2-0 in the first period, and then 3-0 in the first minute of the second period, all off just brutal turnovers from, in that case, the three defensemen who were really, with Hampus Lindholm out, their de facto top three defensemen. Charlie McAvoy on the first one, getting his pocket picked. Nikita Zadorov, errant breakout pass in the second. And then Andrew Peak just losing the puck, trying to leave the zone on the third. Yeah, like you would, going in, you'd be like, oh yeah, if those three guys all commit catastrophic turnovers that end up in the back of the net, game over. And ultimately the Bruins did lose, so that held to be true. But this team did show more fight and I think more ability to mount a comeback than I would have expected. Like I think even with Tampa struggling defensively their first two games, if you had told me the Bruins are down 2-0 after one, and then especially if you told me they gave up another goal right out of the gate in the second period, I would have been like, yeah, game over. And if this was last season, that's a game that would have just turned into 6-0, 7-1. Like, would have never been close. Fans would have been filing out, second intermission. Good night. This team didn't roll over. They did fight back, and they had numerous. They get it within a 1-goal game with like 8 minutes left in the second period, and had numerous opportunities to tie the game. And obviously, ultimately never found that tying goal and ended up losing 4-3. But I think you saw that like maybe this is a team that can win a back and forth type of game or can overcome a 2-0 deficit. Which when we were talking about how, yeah, they might have to win a bunch of games 2-1, that does not lend itself to a kind of team that can even be competitive in a game that gets up to, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2 type of game. And they were competitive. They still lost, but I think there are some silver linings you can take out of Monday's game for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a weird, sloppy game. So I mean, matinee games can be like that because it's, different preparation. It's totally a different schedule for your day than if you play a 7 o'clock game. So I attributed some of the early stuff to that, including McAvoy making two really bad plays in the first period. But anyhow, my opening shift has to do with David Pastrnak because he was very noticeable, especially in the later stages of the game. When it came down to it, they're down by 1 goal, trying to get it back. Goalie pulled. Pastrnak makes the save, which I couldn't believe because I was like right in front of where we were sitting. Couldn't believe he actually got it. There was a few times that the Lightning should have scored on the extra attacker situation, and they didn't. But one of them was because Pasta blocked it. If he had gone down the other way, and then he leveled Kucherov. But if he had then gone down the other way and scored after blocking the shot, that would have been like an all-time highlight for his career, just because of people were already so loud for cheering for him to make the save. I saw Razor tweeted out, didn't love the rebound control. But it was a good block. And then the hit on Kucherov was also notable because Kucherov is also a really good player, and Pasta saw him, lined him up with under a minute left and got him, and he just looked like he was being more assertive, which is kind of what we've been hearing Marco Sturm talk about this year, is how in practice he's been doing being more assertive and being more physical. And Marco Sturm, and I guess the crux of my opening shift is the comments that were made about Pastrnak after the game as a leader, which obviously has been an overarching story of this season without them having a captain. But I'll read what Sturm said first. He said, "He's our leader. He does everything. He wants to win. He was good on the bench. He does everything right." But what stuck out about that was he didn't say he's a leader. He said he's our leader. And so I just feel like when you watch the way that Pastrnak has gone about things this year, he does feel like he might be separating himself to be the next captain. And we don't know if that's going to be during the season. Probably not. Maybe it seems like the plan was going into the year not to have one this season and figure it out in the offseason next year. But Pastrnak has been doing a good job and kind of acting like a captain. So, and then Middlestat had a quote too. He said, somebody asked him about the pushback when they started to make their comeback and almost score at the end. He said, "I think it starts with our leaders. You see Pasta playing goalie and taking runs at guys. I think it makes it easier for the rest of us. And obviously Chucky is a warrior out there too." And so, I mean, pretty much throughout the team, people had nice things to say about Pastrnak being a good leader.
A lot to get to there. We'll circle back to that because there's a lot to talk about with Pasternak's game, and there's some to talk about with McAvoy's as well, especially when that quote from Middlestat where he says Chucky's a warrior too. It's almost kind of seems like that was like an obligatory. I don't know what was he even asked about McAvoy. Why did they have to even tie him in? You know what I mean? So it kind of feels like that's.
He was just asked about like the pushback.
Oh, okay, okay.
Had. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the question was about like, I think the reporter mentioned like what Pastrnak did with the save, and then I believe the question was something along the lines of like, what does it mean when your leaders step up like that or do things like that or something? So the question was about like leaders in general.
Okay. So we'll get into those two in that category. Scott mentioned the ability for the Bruins to come back, or almost come back, and how you get down 3-0, you get down 4-1. That's a game last year where the Bruins lose that 6-1, 7-2 going away all year. So it is nice that this group is different, and the big reason why it's different is because of the surprising depth scoring, which it's still early in the season, but they've gotten it so far. And I think it's worth mentioning that 16 of the 19 skaters that have dressed for Boston so far this year have recorded at least 1 point. The ones who haven't are Hampus Lindholm, who has more or less missed the last 2 games outside of 4+ minutes, Mason Lohrei, who's had a ton of chances, and Murat Husnudinov, who has also had a couple of chances, but in a different type of role. So that's good scoring depth for that amount of players to already be on the score sheet just 4 games in. One of those players is Jordan Harris. And I want to mention him because he had a great play in the Buffalo game where he pinched in on the left side point, activated, and found Pavel Zacha in the soft spot in the slot for Boston to score there. And then against Tampa Bay, in a Jekyll and Hyde second period, Boston cuts it to 3-1. Quickly goes back to 4-1, and then Jordan Harris is kind of a one-man breakout where he does eventually use Pastrnak at the blue line for a giving goal option, but he's winning battles, he's transitioning the puck, and it leads to his first goal as a Boston Bruin. And I know much is talked about how he's a local kid, he's from Haverhill, but what really matters to me is he one of the best 6 defensemen on this Bruins team right now? He's got 2 points in his 2 games, and when Hampus Lindholm comes back into the lineup, the question for me is, does Jordan Harris stay in? And the reason why that's kind of a tricky question is because Hampus Lindholm and Jordan Harris are both left shot defensemen. Your other left shot defensemen are Mason Lohrei and Nikita Zadorov. And I don't think any of those left shot D-men are coming out of this lineup. So if Jordan Harris stays in the lineup once Hampus Lindholm comes back, if he's going to stay in the lineup, then that means that there's going to have to be a left-handed defenseman playing there offside. And if that's the case, who comes out of the lineup? Is it Henry, Yoki, Haru. Does anybody come out of the lineup at all? I think Jordan Harris's play has merited to stay in the lineup even upon a Hampus Lindholm return if he keeps playing the way that he has. So I wanted to bring him up, and we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I believe Jordan Harris has played a little bit on his offside in other spots in Montreal and Columbus. I would need to double check that, but I think he has. I'm with you. Like Yogi Haru would be the one who would kind of make sense to come out. Like even just looking at ice time, how Marcus Sturm has used guys. You know, you got Charlie McAvoy, 24 minutes a game so far. Nikita Zadorov, 21 and a half. Andrew Peak, 20 flat. Those are, as I said, those are your top three guys with Hampus Lindholm out. We know Hampus Lindholm's one of your top guys once he's back in. Then you have Mason Lohrei, a little over 18 minutes a game. And then it's Yoki Haru and Jordan Harris just under 17. So like that's your bottom three if you're just talking about minutes is Lohrei, Yoki Haru, Harris. I guess there could be a case for taking Lohrei out, but I've actually mostly liked Lohrai's play so far this season. Like I don't really see a need to sit him. Like if this was one of those stretches where Lohrei was really struggling defensively, and look, you could argue Monday was his worst game, that pairing's worst game, but as I think we're gonna get into here, like I think McAvoy was the bigger problem. I thought McAvoy just had a really rough game Monday, so I don't even really put that on Lohrei. Yoki Haru, I think he's done some good things. I think he's been pretty quiet for the most part. Like I don't know that you'd really be losing much by taking him out or making him more of a part-time rotational player. So yeah, if you think Jordan Harris can play the right side, like the way he's played these last two games warrants staying in. It's like I said, it's not that like Lohrei or even Yoki Haru has really done anything to make me say like, oh, you got to get them out of the lineup. But Jordan Harris has done something to make me say he needs to stay in the lineup or he should stay in the lineup. At least until he cools down. Listen, if he goes, if all of a sudden he has 3 straight games where he's not doing a whole lot or even struggles, okay, then you can bring Yoki Haru back in. You don't have to be making any hard and fast decisions about who's an everyday player, who's not. It can be game by game. But right now, Jordan Harris is playing like one of your 6 best.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's a win. That's a big win because he wasn't with the organization last year. You bring him in, you think his training camp's good enough for him to be the extra defenseman. And then you immediately have to deal with an injury and you want the person that is, supposed to be your extra defenseman to come in and handle NHL time and situations without that much of a drop off from whoever you lost. And he's done a really good job coming in and filling that role. And I'm not sure if Lindholm is supposed to play in Vegas. It sounded like he was going to travel, but it didn't sound like it was a sure thing when he was going to play his first game back. So
so just to update people quickly, like Hampus Lindholm has been skating, but on his own before practice, and he skated before Monday's game. But he has not yet been back on the ice with the team. So that still needs to happen before he gets into a game.
Yeah. So, and I'll just repeat it if people missed this episode or this comment. It's not the same injury. It is also a lower body injury, but is not a re-aggravation, they said, of his knee injury from last year that set him back a few times. So at least there's that positive. But yeah, it seems like he's still maybe a game or a few games out. Normally guys don't just skate on their own and then just go back to playing. They normally transition back to practice and then start playing again. So I think he'll be in the lineup against Vegas. It seems that that's where things are trending. But yeah, I think he's done a good job. And that question, Brian, is a good one to bring up about should he be in over Yoki Haru when Lindholm is healthy enough to play.
Yeah, and Scott said it too. It's not like Yoki Haru's done much of anything to not stay in the lineup. He hasn't been bad. He's just been he's been okay. But I mean, Harris's mobility and transitional skills have been on full display, and his ability to generate offense in the ozone. So I mean, that's something that, especially for a Bruins team where their offensive forward talent is a question mark, we'll call it, to have mobility and offensive generation from the back end is important. And I'm just looking at Harris's numbers, and I did think he had a good preseason. I do think he deserved to make the team as he was the one of the top 7 defensemen in camp. But he's only 25 years old, and it obviously didn't work out in Columbus for him last year. And he only played 33 games, 5 points in 33 games. But he did have a couple of years in Montreal where he had some pretty good production given his games played. He's never played a full season. The most he's ever played in the year is 65 games, but he had 17 points in 65 games. He had 14 points the next year in 56 games. You carry that production out to 82 games, he's probably a 20 to 23 point guy in his first couple of years. And obviously right now in Boston, he wasn't penciled as an 82 game player or a regular. He made it as a depth defenseman, but he can obviously win a spot. And Scott said it as well. That's not permanent. That's a game by game thing. But if his play warrants it, he'll stay in the lineup. And I just think he's the fascinating player. Like, if we're talking about a guy who can give you 65 to 75 games and he can be a 20-point defenseman, like as your number 6, number 7, that's not bad. And maybe his ceiling's more than that. So I just think he's a fascinating player to follow.
Can I ask you another question too, guys? Because we obviously Hampus Lindholm is hurt, but the other 2 guys that have been sitting on the 9th floor are Johnny Beecher and Jeffrey Viel. And the lineup has stayed the same. They haven't gotten in. Do you guys think there's any reason to pull someone out and put one of those guys in?
Well, and this is kind of why I thought it was curious that they kept 2 guys who, as extra forwards, who, if they go in, they can really only go in on the 4th line. I don't need anyone to go in on the 4th line right now. I like the 4th line. If I were going to make any adjustments, I would want it to be on the 3rd line, which I don't know that I'm quite there yet. Like, I'm fine just rolling the same lineup, but I do think the 3rd line has struggled the last 2 games after, they were the line that came up big in the 2nd game of the season that went over the Blackhawks, where Jeannot scored and then Fraser Minton gets the game winner in overtime. Been pretty quiet the last 2 games. Again, that's 2 games. So, like, you don't have to make a change. You don't have to panic. You can try to let them work through it. But if anything, like, that's where I'd make a change. The problem is I don't, unless maybe you move Husnudinov up to the 3rd line and drop one of Asimon and Jeannot down to the 4th line, you don't have an extra forward that can go in on the 3rd line. Like, Mate Blumel or Matt Poitras, like, they're not here. So they're not on the road trip. So, no, I don't think Beecher or VL need to go in. I could see maybe Sunday, like at the end of the road trip, if you just think, fresh legs somewhere could help. Maybe someone's a little banged up or something. But otherwise, no, I don't really think you have to make any changes up front.
I mean, even that 3rd line, the game that they played against the Blackhawks, where they helped propel them in the final 40 minutes, they also had a tough 20 minutes that game. But I'm with you, Scott. Like, I'm not changing anything within as far as personnel in the top 12 forward group right now, given who their extra forwards are. But I think when you mentioned Husnudinov potentially going up to the 3rd line, that could be interesting if the struggles potentially continue, because it's strange to see him in a 4th line role, but then he's in the 2nd power play. So it's like, do you think he can have offense or not? And I think, like, I don't. But at the same time, like, I think Esimont brings a love. Like, I think Jeannot is the one on the 3rd line that's kind of been holding that line back a little bit. So, could you do a Minton, Husnudinov, Esimont? Do you do Jeannot? But maybe it's just too early to tinker with things.
Yeah, Fraser Minton has set up Tanner Jeannot for several really good chances that he hasn't been able to bury. And it's like, again, I know we're probably talking about maybe 2 or 3 chances, but it's like, they were kind of they're point blank, and if you're going to be on a third line, like those are the ones you have to bury. So yeah, like I could see that tweak. You're right. Like Kuznetsov he does create some offense, and there's a speed factor there, and just a tenacity that should work on either of your bottom two lines.
That's why Brian's a big fan.
Well, hey,
as Marco Sturm said, he's got something.
He does have something. I mean, I remember last year somebody mentioned the fact that he has good leadership qualities because he was a captain, I believe, for his KHL team. I think that's what somebody said. And that does, like, you do see him, little things he does do catch my attention. Like the way for a small guy, he wins a lot of battles. Like he knows how to, the geometry with his body positioning sometimes is very subtle, but it's how he comes away with some pucks for his size. And I do think he does make smart plays for the most part. Again, I think that because we're talking about a third line that's kind of struggling to generate, it's why we're even talking about him being in that spot. And I also think that his skill set, I don't know if he's like, it's what we talked about with Minnesota last year. Like they had him in a fourth line checking role. I don't know if that's what is going to get the most out of Kuznetsov. And so again, if you have him on a second power play unit, why is he not in your third line at least?
Well, I did want to ask you guys what you thought of that unit too. And I guess so far, not just Monday's game, but the power play units and what you see.
But this will tie in a little bit, but before we get to that, I was gonna say, what's refreshing is we're not talking about needing to change the second line, because they've come alive and had a pretty good last couple of games, and they've produced. It's scored again. Monday they get the first goal right after Tampa goes up 3-0. Very next shift they answer with Casey Middlestad finishing off. A nice sequence with assists for Arvidsson and Zacha. Zacha also picks up an assist later in the game, winning a faceoff that Morgan during a 4-on-4 that Morgan Geekie then buries. Zacha's been really good. He has points in every game. He's tied with Pastrnak for the team lead, 5 points on the season. Middlestad and Arvidsson, I think after maybe a slow start the first game or game and a half, I think they're playing pretty well. So, understandably, it's still going to take a little while, I think, for people to fully buy into that as a second line, but credit where credit's due. Like, they've been good these last couple games.
Yeah, and I asked Middlestad about it after the game. I'll read the quote from him. He said, I said, what do you like about your line, or how do you think your line's been doing so far? And he was like, it's been good. I think we complement each other well. Me and Pat probably slow it down a little bit and like to make plays. RV just ripping around and shooting the puck. I think it's a really good contrast of players.
Yeah, I mean, I love his effort. I mean, I might question his finishing ability, a la his opportunity in the slot. That was kind of a muffin for the goalie to stop. I think a true top six finisher is more dangerous in that situation. But I think that if we're talking straight effort and his willingness to go to dirty areas and parts of the ice where a lot of players don't love to go, I fully tip my cap and will always tip my cap to Arvidsson for being that willing player. But his offensive finish, I question still.
Yeah, and he's an interesting player to watch, because when he has the puck, it can be a little bit of chaos where it's like we've kind of talked about. It's almost like he can't slow himself down and just kind of crashes into things. And when he's like tracking back on defense or doesn't have the puck, he's also like, there's a little bit of like wrecking ball style where he'll just come like flying into a play. But another thing I noticed though is when there's a battle, or like when the Bruins first win possession, he is really good at finding open space and making himself an outlet. Like, just like keep an eye on that when you watch him. Like, he knows kind of exactly where his teammate that's trying to come out of a battle along the boards, he knows exactly where he should be. And it's not always, like an established position on the ice. It's like here's where there's space. Here's where a guy can just flip a puck out without needing to make a precise pass, and he's going to be there to get it. Like I've actually I've enjoyed, because those are the things like you just don't see when a player's on another team. But I've liked watching him do that, because like you can kind of just like see the wheels turning where he's like, oh, this is where the puck might come to next, and I'm gonna go set up here.
Yeah, he's like he's like a pinball machine. Like he's going all over the place when he's out there. But I think that play that I referenced earlier, where he has the puck in the slot on a nice feed from Zaka, I believe, who has been very good. You know, you mentioned his 4-game point streak, Scott, the only Bruin with a point in every game so far. He has played with just his details have been great. I think he's been more just, I don't know, he's been active and engaged physically, like not like he's like taking huge hits or making huge hits, but he's involved. I like to see that out of Zaka. But that play with Arvidsson kind of perfectly encapsulates kind of who he is as a player. He has the puck on the left wing boards, gets absolutely crunched by Lilleberg, and to the point where like you look at the replay, and Arvidsson's like right leg was bent like beneath his back as he fall. I'm like, oh my god, that looked like a seasoning and ending injury. Then he hops back up and he's in the slot, gets the shot, from off the Zaka pass. It was just a funny sequence of well, I'm glad he was okay, but it's like, yep, you want Victor Arvidsson hockey in a screenshot. That's it.
Yeah, so Bridget, if you want, we can go to the power play, because look, it's gone a little quiet. You know, it was 1 for 2 that first game, scores again in the second game. Now it's 0 for 9 the last 2 games, and you had, there were opportunities Monday where you really could have used your power play stepping up. Power play early in the third period, down by 1, they don't convert. Extra attacker situation late in the game, they can't convert, and then it was only 8 seconds of like a 5-on-3, and unfortunately, Elias Lindholm, who's been literally statistically the best faceoff man in the NHL so far this season,
Automatic.
Unfortunately loses that last one to Cirelli, and it gets cleared down, so the Bruins don't get a shot. But I think on Monday, like, you started seeing some turnovers on entries again that hadn't been there under Steve's spot so far, and will need to be cleaned up. Just see, the Bruins have had like these nice set plays coming into the zone, and it seemed like there were a couple of times on Monday where it wasn't there, and guys kind of tried to go hero mode. Like Charlie McAvoy went in 1-on-3 in the first period, I think it was. Whatever the set play was, like, wasn't there, and he just kind of tried to go 1-on-3 and turned it over, gets cleared down. There's one Pastrnak a little later. Like, though, I think those are the things that, like, that's maybe seeing some of those bad habits from last year creeping back in, that Steve Spot's job is going to be to nip that in the bud and get guys, hey, either trust the play we have set up or dump it in and go get it instead of trying to skate through guys. Because that just doesn't work in the NHL. It's not against a good penalty kill. And I know Tampa has struggled a bit so far this year, but like normally a John Cooper team has a buttoned up PK.
I was going to mention that the second unit had some stretches where I thought they looked pretty good in Monday's game. And Laura in particular hit the crossbar on one of his shots on the power play, or maybe it was the 4-on-4, but I think it was power play though. And
yeah, it was a power play.
Yeah, so he's up at the blue line, and then he takes a few steps in and just rips it and almost scored, and I think that would have tied it. But he as we know, that's one of his strengths, is when he's got the puck in the offensive zone, he's got a great shot. And he saw that he had space, stepped into like the top of the circles and almost scored. So that's at least, getting the defenseman involved on that unit to create chances is you like to see that.
I agree, Bridget, and that kind of leads me to a question for you guys and listeners, which is, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is Charlie McAvoy the right player for that top unit? And the one question I want to ask to follow that up is, yes or no? Is he a scoring threat? When you watch him play on the power play, and he has the puck at the top of the umbrella, do you feel in your mind, oh, here comes a scoring chance? Or are you thinking to yourself, this either isn't going to get through, or it's going to be shot wide, or it's just going to be a non-threatening shot from the point? Because, most defensemen in the NHL can tee up Pastrnak for a one-timer. But McAvoy's ability to be a scoring threat himself, to me, has been lacking for quite some time. I want him. I've wanted him to be that guy. He can shoot the puck. He can skate well. He can pass. He has all those individual traits. He just can't put it together. And I tweeted this out during the game, but it seems like he lacks decisiveness and deception when each is appropriate on the power play. Like, it leads to indecision. It leads to just, I don't know. But if he's not a scoring threat, then teams aren't going to believe he's a scoring threat, and they're going to either overcommit to the elbows or whatnot. I've wanted it for a long time for him to prove me wrong on this, and I know it's early in the season. He's got to show something. He has to show something outside of one play every, month and a half or 2 months in the power play that says, oh, well, there it is. And Bridget mentions Lohrei. Why is he not the one? He can do too much as well, but I just feel like Lohrei is the guy. He should be the guy, and I don't know why I don't know. If it does feel like they're catering to McAvoy's contract, that he should be the guy, and I get it, but at some point, you're the guy or you're not the guy.
Yeah, so I'll answer kind of twofold here. One, is McAvoy enough of a scoring threat? He hasn't been. There's even been a couple times this year where he's had chances to walk, I think on the power play, but also maybe once or twice 5-on-5, to walk right down the slot, and he's missed the net. And again, it's like that's going to be the easiest for a PK to defend, because now you have to try to go to the corner, or it might even rim around out of the zone. Like, you got to at least get it on net, force a save, maybe there's a rebound. Maybe that's pressing a little too much. Now, as far as why he's still there, I do think that the changing coaching staff, I can see Marco Sturm and Steve Spott saying that, because, listen, we have to remind ourselves of this too. Charlie McAvoy has been a part of successful power plays in the past. Like, whether you think that was because of him or maybe in spite of him, go back to the record-setting season. He was on PP1 most of that year, and they were really good most of that season. So, he's been on a successful unit. It's not like he's never done this. I can see Marco Sturm and Steve Spott saying, you know what, we're coming in, fresh slate. Let's see what we have here. Let's work with McAvoy. Let's show him some things we want him to do, show him things we don't want him to do, and we think we can get more out of him than he showed last year and the year before. You need more than 4 games to come to a definitive conclusion on whether that's working or not. So I don't need to take McAvoy off right now, mainly because I trust Steve Spott enough to work with McAvoy, and if there is room for him to be better there, to get it out of him. What I don't know, and what I'll be interested to see, is, say Steve Spott and Marco Sturm come to the conclusion that, you know what, McAvoy's just not getting the job done, and this isn't going the way we thought. Are they bold enough to make that change? Because previous Bruins coaches, especially Jim Montgomery, generally was not. You might do it for a couple games here and there, but it would always go back to McAvoy and PP1. We don't know right now how Sturm and Spott would approach that. Would they make the switch and be able to communicate with McAvoy, hey, here's why we're doing it, and this is our decision? Or, to your point, would they be worried about, well, McAvoy's our highest paid defenseman, and he kind of has to be there by default, and we're just going to keep deferring to him. Like, that's going to be an interesting thing to follow if McAvoy does not improve in that spot.
I also have this question too, and I've thought that Hampus Lindholm and Mason Lohrei are probably the two biggest threats you have on the blue line during the power play. McAvoy would probably be third, with Hampus being healthy, of course. But my question is, do you think, and this, I'm not saying I agree with this, but do you think spreading Lohrei or Lindholm to the second unit helps give you more depth on your power play? So like not putting everything onto the same unit, so that there's stuff left for, tools left for the second unit.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's how you can approach it, though. Like, your top units out there to start every power play and probably for a minute 20, like, they're just so much more important. So,
Yeah,
if you think someone on your PP2 can make your PP1 better, they have to be in PP1.
Well, and Pastrnak plays both units too. So I mean that helps that depth. But it's a good question, Bridget. But I think, I mean, what was there? And Scott, your point's well taken, right? Like the new coaching staff needs more than 4 games. But to something you said a little bit earlier, this has also been, from our perspective, we've been watching this for 2 years now. And yes, the 22-23 season, were they a top 10 unit that year, or were they middle of the pack? I don't remember what they were, but you're right. They were better that year, but everything was going well from that year. But I mean, last year was what were they, 15 or 15%, 15.9% in the power play last year? Like I'm trying to be patient with it, but the problem is I've been patient with it for a couple of years. But the thing is, against the Capitals, McAvoy is an instrumental part in that set play that led to the Lindholm goal, which was the game-winning goal, the eventual game-winning goal. Pavel Zacha does a nice indirect pass to Pastrnak, and he finds Lindholm late, but McAvoy's net drive opens that opportunity up. So there are times where I see McAvoy do really well, but again, it needs to be consistent. It just has to be. And I don't know if Mason Lohrei or Hampus Lindholm would be much better, but it's like, I don't know. What's the power play now? Two for is it? I think it was 2 for 11 going into yesterday. So I think the power play might be 2 for maybe 14 or 15 now. I'd have to double check, but I don't know. It's just something worth keeping an eye on as things go forward. And this team needs their special teams to be strong, I think, to be a playoff contender. And I just don't think they're off to a good start, which is great. But I don't think they can wait too long to make a change if the power play isn't a true scoring threat on most games.
Yeah, I was just like 22-23 and 23-24. They actually finished with the same exact percentage each year, 22.2%. That ranked 12th in 22-23, 14th in 23-24. And if I remember correctly, 23-24, they were actually like way better than that most of the season, and then completely fell apart like the last month and a half going into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
The power play could go away before that.
Then the proof is in the pudding that that they can have a middle of the pack to top half of the league power play with McAvoy as the quarterback. It just seems like it's been worse than that. So I guess I'll have to take that back a little bit. Last year was obviously dreadful, right?
Yeah.
And this year hasn't been terrible. Like I have liked their zone entries most games, and they have had a lot of chances most games. I think maybe a bad game overall for McAvoy yesterday is probably making me project a little bit, but
yeah,
also,
I think
I was gonna say it's not just like McAvoy. It's not just because like he's not producing, like you're saying, Brian. Like it's also because you see that Lohrei is good at those things. So like if there's no guy that's on the next unit that you're like, oh, this guy's got a great shot, you're looking at it and you're going, I'm curious if this would help the top unit. And if you didn't have Hampus Lindholm or Mason Lohrei, you we're probably not having this conversation because those are the other options.
And I do also think that, like, just to play devil's advocate on this, even if McAvoy isn't enough of a scoring threat himself, I do think there's been a couple times this year where we've seen him more willing to just funnel pucks to the net, which was also something like in the past he's really hesitated with. I mean, that power play early in the third period on Monday, like 10 seconds in, he gets one down that Morgan Geekie tips over the crossbar. If that tip is 7 inches lower and goes in, we're not having this conversation. We're saying good job by McAvoy putting a tippable puck on net.
Yeah, and I mentioned last episode one of the preseason goals, power play goals that Elias Lindholm had. It was a redirect under the crossbar, and it was a well timed and purposeful shot by McAvoy there, one of those shot pass situations. So yeah, I guess, but it does need to. He has to improve though. He has to be more consistent. There's no doubt about it. So, but I wanted to. Yeah, Bridget, go ahead.
I was gonna, if we're transitioning the conversation, I was gonna ask if you guys had anything else about the game, because I did have some college hockey thoughts that I want to get to.
So I do want to get to one thing quickly. I know you guys both have something else, but I just wanted to, again, just kind of keep it to McAvoy and to your opening shift, Bridget, about Pastrnak. But I do want to give Pasternak's final shift a few moments. But before I do, McAvoy, something that bothered me yesterday, and I don't think it got talked about enough, was you go down 3-0. Obviously, he had a giveaway early in the game, or he got his pocket picked. So you go down 3-0 eventually. Casey Middlestat brings it back to 3-1. And then a shift or two later, or whenever it was, it goes right back to 4-1. And everybody's talking about, it's the McAvoy-Lori pairing out there, and everyone's talking about how there was a missed holding call on McAvoy. And I'm not here to argue that point. I do think McAvoy was held up. What I didn't like about that play was the fact that McAvoy stopped playing and looked to the ref for the call rather than try to fight through it, because penalties happen probably on every shift of every game and they don't always get called. You have to play through them. I didn't like that. And then next thing you know, Boston's scrambling in front of the net. McAvoy's tripping over Korpisalo, and it's 4-1. And I'm like, and then couple that with the last shift of the game where Pastrnak is going 2011 Michael Ryder and steamrolling the only right wing in the world who may be better than him with an open ice hit in Nikita Kucherov. And he's trying everything he can to tie that game up. Not that McAvoy wasn't, but to me, I'm just looking at the game and I'm like, so you have McAvoy not playing through a hold, looking for the call. You have Pastrnak having just a really significant captain type shift. And it just draws back to the conversation that your opening shift was, Bridget, of like, I don't know if they're going to name a captain this year, but it really does seem abundantly clear to me that this team is David Pasternak's team. And I want to just say, I thought Charlie McAvoy equally had an amazing opening night game against the Capitals. I think he had a team high seven hits. I'm not here to say McAvoy has had a bad year. I just think that Pastrnak is doing things that are standing out to me. And to your opening shift, Bridget, it's standing out to his head coach as well.
Yeah, I think McAvoy was really good the vast majority of all three of the wins to open the season. So, obviously, like it's easy to get caught up in what, was absolutely a stinker for him on Monday. I'm not gonna like totally bury him just because of one bad game, but at one point during Monday's game, I turned to Bridget in the press box and I was like, I feel like because I thought Pastrnak struggled early on in that game, like some of his touches were just off, and we've seen that a couple times this season. I turned to Bridget and I was like, I feel like if Pastrnak and McAvoy can just get to their B game, the Bruins probably win this game. And Pastrnak definitely got there. Like he got to his A game in the third period, everything besides scoring. McAvoy never got there. So like you're right. They're too many mistakes. And that the non-penalty Holmberg goal, you're right. Like, even with the hold, that still is a one-on-one battle against Pontus Holmberg. And I don't care if he's grabbing your arm or not. Like, that's just a battle Charlie McAvoy should win. And probably does if he doesn't have an arm up in the air looking for a penalty call. Like, if his reaction to that is like, well, F this, like, I'm just going to shake him off my back, he probably wins that battle. Like, Pontus Holmberg had a good game Monday. He's not a great player. He's not super strong. Like, Charlie McAvoy, even getting held, can win that battle if he is fully engaged in the battle and not looking for a call.
And to the Pastrnak part of it, to bring it back to the opening shift that I had, and what you said, Brian, like, I think he stands out in different ways this season than even in the past. Like, he is consciously doing these things to make an impact on his team and to make them feel like Casey Middlestat said he felt, which is if your best player is going out there and laying a huge hit and playing goalie, you follow and setting an example. And I just think that he's been setting a really good effort example. And we already know he has the skill example that, he's going to score. His production speaks for itself. But then it's the other things like the hits and the effort and the being more vocal and going all out and playing. He always has gotten criticized for his defense. I've never thought it was all that bad, but like he's showing that he's doing all of these things. And it maybe we're just looking at it more now that there's only A's on this team and no C, but I do think he seems to have reached a different level in those aspects. To fill a void of, Marchand not being there, no Bergeron, no Chara, who is it going to be next? And he's filling that.
Yeah, he's recognizing that void has to be filled, and I don't mean to overfixate on one game on McAvoy. The reality is, we're just, it's the most recent game they've played, and we're talking about it, and I do think he's been good for the most part, but. And I also think, to Scott, you said this too, Scott. I do think Pastrnak had some questionable plays with the puck on his stick at times yesterday, but he's doing his job right now, and then some. Like he's leading the team in scoring, co-leading with Zacha. 5 points through 4 games. He's playing goalie, but in the Chicago game, he thought he got upended, and for the rest of the shift, he was taking numbers and hitting anybody in sight. And on the one hand, it's kind of funny, but on the other hand, it's endearing. And then I thought yesterday against Tampa, there was one shift in particular, and I forget the score at the time, but I do know it was the second period, so I'm sure that they were down at least 2 goals, if not 1. But Ryan McDonagh, very credible defensive defenseman. He has the puck behind the net. And that Pastrnak, Geekie, and Lindholm line, all 3 of them, but Pastrnak was right in the middle of it, charging him behind the net, taking the body, making him make mistakes, and then Pastrnak causes a turnover on a very defensively reliable player, Ryan McDonagh, and takes the puck away from him and hits Elias Lindholm in front for a scoring opportunity that, because Pastrnak was kind of falling down, the puck was in Lindholm, bounced off Lindholm's skate. But these are just extra effort plays, as you like to call them in hockey, that Pastrnak has done pretty consistently this year, even dating back to training camp. And oh, by the way, we talked about how he carried the team on his back all last season with all the injuries that they had and the trades that they had. So this is not something that's been going on in the last couple of weeks, and it's really been a carryover. And yeah,
one of the reasons that Sweeney gave for not naming a captain to start the year was he wanted the new coaching staff to get acclimated to everyone and like see what their thoughts were on who's the leader of the team. And so to make a positive impression on Sturm and he's going to probably be the one advocating for who should get the next C. It's going to be, his opinion is going to be important in that. Not just Sweeney and not just, I don't really know what teammates' role is in this. Like in college, it's voted. The next captain is always voted by the team for a lot of teams. But I think this is mostly like a coach and management decision. So try to get them on your side, I guess.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about this is like, obviously you're not naming a C after 4 games, because that would basically you'd just be like admitting like, oh yeah, we probably should have just done this in the first place. So it's going to be a little bit of time. I don't know if it'll be in season or after the season. I do think if it becomes clear, and I don't know if we're there yet, but as the season goes on, if it becomes clear that Pastrnak is the leader, is the captain, then to me, you name him whenever you feel that becomes clear as a team, as a coaching staff, as an organization, because I don't think it does a whole lot of good to, I said before, I don't think having 3 A's and no C, I don't think it's ideal. I think there's a reason why just about every team has a C. So if you find that, like, say come December, you're like, yeah, it's pretty clear Pasternak's the leader and he's going to be the next captain, then name him captain when you go on Christmas break or whatever. Like that, I wouldn't see any need to drag it on any longer than necessary, because then you can also, like, it might not be good for, like, I'm sure whenever that time comes, there might be some temporary disappointment from McAvoy, but like, it's also not good if he's in a position where, look, human instinct is there's to some level, there's a competition here between Pastrnak and McAvoy. If McAvoy is looking at it and like, oh man, like Pastrnak just had an incredible game and Marcus Sturm's calling him the leader, and man, I really got to step up and like do something if I want that C. And it's like, well, that might force him, like he might then start making mistakes and like trying to do more than he should. Whereas like if it's like, all right, Pasternak's the C, give him the C. Again, McAvoy can get over that initial disappointment, and then like you just know the structure of things, and you just know where everyone is. And I think the sooner you get to that, like, the better off you are in the long run.
I mean, David Pastrnak's his tenure precedes Charlie McAvoy. Like, if you look at this through McAvoy's lens, right? I know McAvoy is a competitor and he's been around for a while, and he's when he's on his game, he's arguably a top 10 defenseman in the league, right? But Pastrnak does precede him, and oh, by the way, I think he's been a top 5 scorer in the NHL in 5 or 6 of the last 6 or 7 seasons. He's one of the best forwards in the world, not named Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, I mean, maybe Leon Draisaitl, and from there, I mean, he's one of the top 5, 6, 7 forwards in the world. So it's completely justified. If I'm Charlie McAvoy, and yeah, and oh, by the way, he's leading the way that Pastrnak's doing what he did when I was out, and he's doing what he's doing and playing the way he's playing. Like, it's kind of indisputable if this continues for another month or so. And I'm with you. I think don't wait. I mean, sure, a week might be admitting they should have done it earlier, but yeah, I think as soon as it makes sense, they should do it. If it's this season, it's this season.
I know we're gonna have comments that are like, "Why are you burying McAvoy?" And there's people,
Yeah.
there's a lot of fans that believe McAvoy should get the get the C.
I think there's also a lot of fans who are pretty critical of McAvoy.
So
I think we did a poll, didn't we? We did a poll recently, I think, and over the summer, maybe, or maybe one of us as an individual did a poll, but Pastrnak ran away with the votes as far as who should be the captain of this team. And to be honest, like, I don't think we're burying McAvoy. He's a good player. He's a leader. He's in the conversation. But he was, to no fault of his own, he was hurt much of last year. He has been inconsistent, certainly far more inconsistent than David Pastrnak has been, who's been very consistent. Pastrnak hasn't missed a game in 3 years. He's led the team in scoring by 40 plus points each of the last 3 seasons, whether it's breaking records or in the lottery. Like, it's not so much what McAvoy hasn't done, it's what Pastrnak has done.
Yeah.
And again, we can only go. We record 3 times a week, so we can only go off of recent stuff. But there's trends here, and if they continue, I don't think it's burying McAvoy to say that Pasternak's the guy, especially when Marco Sturm himself is calling Pastrnak the team's
Our
leader.
leader. Yeah.
So
I do want to. Can I get to the college hockey thoughts that I had?
Yeah.
They can be quick. So Dean Letourneau scored. Guys,
Finally,
he did it. He scored his first goal.
nice shot.
yeah, it was a good goal, and it was a huge one too. Late in the third period, gets BC a tie in the second game at Minnesota, and they end up, after kind of getting dominated by Quinnipiac in their season opener, they go out to Minnesota against another very good team and get a win and a tie. So nice bounce back for BC.
Yeah, and so Will Moore also has a goal this year. James Higgins does not have a goal yet. He's got 3 assists, I think, but no goals yet for him. He had 1 called back.
Yeah.
So
for an offside like 45 seconds before the goal.
Yeah. So unfortunately for him, that one doesn't count. And Will Zeller scored this weekend too.
Friend of the podcast.
Into the pod, Will.
Also, Jonathan Morello at BU, another Bruins prospect.
You know what? I interviewed him, and he's a really nice kid. He's actually, he had me take a picture of him and one of his friends the other day because they were doing warm-ups and his friend was on Colgate, and he comes over, he's like, "Can you take a picture of us?" I was like, "Sure, no problem." He's been good. I've been impressed with him. He had a good camp too. He had a good rookie camp or whatever it's called, development camp.
Yeah, development camp. I talked to him at development camp too, and I was like, "So there's a lot of BC guys around here," and he was like, "Yeah, this is good preparation for the season."
Yeah. So yeah, he scored. He's a penalty kill. They use him on the penalty kill. He works hard, block shots, stuff like that. So yeah, if you tune into BU games, you'll see him probably on their 3rd or 4th line. They're a very deep team. But one of the other things, Brian, I don't know if you had any thoughts on any of those guys, but before I change to my other
Nope. I mean, just that Zellers is. I think Zellers is getting top line minutes for North Dakota, which is it shows he's impressed his coaching staff so far.
Yeah, I mean, Boisvert transferred out of there, and now he's on BU. So like they lost Rookie of the Year, and who would be their top line center. So,
Zeller's a winger.
No, but I'm trying to say like there's a void to fill on the. There's voids to fill in the top of that roster that he can, get some scoring chances and get some big minutes. So anyway, the other thought that I had was this came off of a conversation that I was having in my little college hockey circle this weekend about the Bruins goaltending system and Albin Boya. So Albin Boya came to Bruins rookie camp this past off season. He's an undrafted free agent. So NHL teams who are interested.
Sorry, Bridget. Just so people aren't confused, development camp.
I keep doing this.
I know.
If they follow this podcast,
this is like a real hang up for Bridget.
I can't do it. My brain just won't.
It's like me saying Lavaliette. Trying to say Lavaliette.
Yeah. So anyway, Scott, you'll have to correct me from now until the end of time on this one. But Albin Boya went to development camp for the Bruins this past year. He's an undrafted free agent. If NHL teams want to get him, they'll have to come up with the best offer, I guess, pursue him. And the Bruins have. And what I heard from a few people who know a little bit more information about him and the situation is that he is going to be one of their priorities this upcoming, I won't even say off season because it's going to have to be in the spring. Whenever Boy is a sophomore, I wouldn't be surprised if he left Maine after this season, which would mean you have to be on him in March or April, depending on when the season, ends. For Maine, probably April. And I was told that he would pretty much jump if the Bruins were to get him, which they really, really want him. He would jump past what they have in Providence in terms of the depth, the goalie depth. He's somebody that I think they think very highly of, more highly than I think the guys that they currently have, including those who they have drafted. And and as well as who's in Providence. So I would not be surprised if come the springtime, when Maine finishes their season, we see the Bruins trying really hard, and if they get their way, signing Album Boy at the end of the college season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a place where the Bruins like sneaky need some reinforcement. I was a little surprised they didn't draft a goalie this year. Michael DiPietro's 26, and I was very unclear like whether he has any kind of future here beyond this season. We were wondering if he's even going to get claimed on waivers now. Simon Zajic down in Providence is a flyer, like a guy who's never played in North America that you're just bringing over kind of to see what you have and hope he's a good backup for DiPietro. We know Jonas Korpisalo is obviously someone they could, look to move at some point. Boya's 22, so there's an age advantage there. The Bruins do have Philip Svedbach at Providence College. I think just watching college hockey, Boy is a better goalie.
Yep.
Very little question in my mind about that. Last year he split time as a freshman. Last year he was Maine's full-time starter, 37 games. He was one of the best goalies in the country. And then this year, obviously very early, but he's got a .952 save percentage in 2 games. So he's off to a great start again this season. He's a little on the smaller side. That would be the one question mark. 6'1" is these days small for a goalie.
He moves so well. Like,
yeah,
he's very agile. Good rebound control. I think he's great. He was the runner-up. He was a finalist for the Richter, which is given to the best goalie in college hockey. He was the second best goalie in Hockey East because Fowler was amazing. So, maybe Boya wasn't getting enough credit because BC's goaltending with Fowler was so outstanding. But there's a lot of guys on BC last year that overshadowed some other guys that had good seasons on other teams. But anyhow, I did want to share that I had heard from the college hockey side of things that he is a priority for the Bruins. So
that's good. That's good to know, and good intel. And real quick, I just wanted to mention, we don't have to comment on this much further, but Providence is off to a good start because you guys mentioned Providence. Fabian Lysell had his first pro hat trick. Potter's playing well down there. All the guys you expect to be playing well are playing well. I do want to say I'm on the edge of my seat, and I have been for a little over an hour because Scott has teased something at the end of this episode, and I have no idea what it is, nor does Bridget. So Scott,
he mentioned this to me at the game Monday, and I was like, "Are you going to tell me?" He's like, "No." I'm like, all right, let's see what it is.
Well, it's something we've done before. Sunday, I'm watching the Patriots get their 3rd straight win. Great times down in Foxborough again. And after the game, I'm pretty hungry, and I'm like, I gotta get some food. Gonna get some takeout or something. Go Chinese food. Open up the bag. I get my fortune cookie, and then I'm thinking, you know what we gotta do? We gotta do Jeremy Swayman our fortune cookie.
Wow, yeah. I love it.
I think that I labeled it last time. Swayman quote or fortune cookie note.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it.
Jeremy Swayman, obviously, we haven't even talked about him really, but off to a great start. Got his 2nd straight win in against Buffalo on Saturday. So I've got 10 here that we can go through.
Oh my goodness! All right, let's see.
We'll keep score. We'll see who wins.
This year only, or are they from other years too?
I cannot tell you that. I'll tell you that at the end.
Okay. All right. I guarantee you he's got one in here that's like, actually, that was Korpisalo that said it, and I know you.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm on my toes. I'm very skeptical that you're throwing something else in there. But anyway, okay, start. Go ahead.
Right. First one. You have to be grateful for the ups and downs of it all.
Swayman.
I'm going to go Swayman as well.
You are both correct.
Yeah, that sounded a little incomplete for a fortune cookie quote.
No, some of those are bad though. I've opened plenty fortune cookies. I'm like, grammatically, I have no idea where this was going or what it means. But anyway.
All right. Second one. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today.
Oh, that's
Cookie.
That's got to be a fortune cookie.
Both correct again. 2 for 2.
Right, good.
We know our Swayman quotes.
We'll see.
All right. Number 3. Some of the best ever to do it are silent leaders.
Swayman.
I feel like Bridget is informed on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say fortune cookie, but I'm going to go Swayman because she seems so confident.
Bridget, you gave it away. Yeah, that was Swayman.
Yeah, it does seem tough.
Points for that, Brian. No cheating. You're coughing off my test.
Well, yeah, but you're probably in the scrums hearing
I was
these.
there for that. Yeah, I was there.
All right, number 4. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's fortune cookie.
That has to be fortune cookie, or it has to be someone besides Swayman, because I don't think Swayman said that.
That's a fortune cookie.
Okay, good. That's a hell of a quote too. That's true. Good advice.
Yeah.
You can't just go back and forth, Scott. Yeah, you have to throw us off. You can't have one on, one off.
Number 5. You're not what you've done. You're what you keep doing.
That's Swayman, yeah?
Wait, you're not what you've done.
I can see it being fortune
You're
cookie,
what you
actually.
keep doing.
I'll say fortune cookie.
I personally never heard him say that one, so I'm going to go cookie.
You guys are rolling. Wow. And I'm going to have to find some harder ones, I guess. All right, number 6. There's a reward at the end of it, and it's worth every single sacrifice.
That's definitely a hockey player. I think that sounds like Swayman, but like I said, I'm very skeptical that Scott is throwing someone else in here.
I'm gonna say fortune cookie.
I'm gonna say Swayman.
Bridget is correct. That's Swayman. Bridget takes the lead.
Game.
All right, number 7.
Ryan's money.
Don't be a know-it-all. Be a learn-it-all.
Cookie. You definitely didn't say that.
I'm going to say Swayman.
No.
Oh, Bridget's starting to pull away here. That was a fortune cookie.
Damn it. I haven't watched any of his interviews this year because I really can't bear them. So I really am going into this blind. Meanwhile, she's asking him half these questions. It's a bit of an unfair advantage, but it's all good.
No, it does definitely give me an advantage that I'm personally there for the conversation. And the one from last year that sparked this whole segment was a question that I had asked that he answered about nature. But
yeah, that's right. That went viral. I can't handle these interviews with him. Like the way he talks, it's just like I'd rather not listen. I just kind of want to watch him play goal. But what is this, number 8, Scott?
Yep, number 8. We can't predict what's going to happen. What we can control is right here, right now.
That's Swayman. That's got to be Swayman. Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Yeah, because I would have to ask the fortune cookie, who's we?
Yeah.
All right, number 9. To conquer your flaws, you must first accept them.
I mean, if Swayman used the word conquer, it's got to be a cookie.
A cookie. Tell
me it's a cookie.
It's a cookie.
Thank God. Oh my God. If he said that, I'd be like, holy shit. All right. Last one. All the roads we have to walk are winding. Fortune cookie. Don't tell me
that's not Swayman.
Don't tell me a human said that.
Those are lyrics from the Oasis song Wonderwall.
Okay. Wait, did I get 100%? I got every single one.
You
right.
Actually got you got over 100% because you even guessed the fact that Scott was going to throw in a curveball.
Yeah, exactly. I win.
Bonus.
All right. Who's buying me lunch? Who's buying me Chinese food?
All right. So I'm going to have to find some harder ones for next time. But all those Swayman quotes, by the way, were from his very first media availability this season on day 1 of training camp.
Yeah, I recognize a few of them from that.
That's funny.
Yep.
I did, before we sign out, I didn't mean to gloss over it. Maybe there's a lot of our listeners are very curious about some of the ongoings. Did you guys have any thoughts on Providence's start and some of the young players?
No, just that it's encouraging to see, obviously. Sometimes guys who are maybe disappointed they didn't make the NHL get off to slow starts in the AHL. We hear that from guys a lot. doesn't seem to be happening here. Like you said, it was a huge game Sunday for that line in particular of Poitras, Lysell, and Alex Steves, who also had 4 points in that game. So that's good to see. And it's, again, I think you're going to see 1, 2, like maybe all these guys for a game or two at some point. Like, you're going to use them at some point. And, again, like we brought up, hey, not so sure about this third line right now. Like, let's see if they can bounce back. Well, it's good to know that down in Providence, you've got a couple options that if you need to turn to, you can give one of those guys a shot at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say that what I had seen was that the attendance has been great as well. A lot of people want to go watch that team. That's a team that has a really good AHL roster.
You know what's interesting? I was ironically looking this up the other day, and do you want to wager a guess as to the capacity at the Dunk Center?
I have no clue. This is math. Any game that involves math is not. It's not my game.
I'm gonna guess around like 9,000.
So, TD Garden, I want to say is around 17,000 and change. 17,500.
It's like 17,800 now, I think.
The Dunk Center is 14,000 capacity.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I've gone there a few times for concerts too. It's a pretty big venue.
But I mean, like
PC basketball, I've been to a lot. So,
but like Songus Arena in Lowell, right?
Oh, that's
Agganis Arena, obviously in Boston. Those, I think those are more like maybe 4,000 or 5,000.
Those are both around 6, I think.
Okay, but like I kind of and those are two like AHL, size, like good AHL arenas, whatnot. Yeah, I was kind of surprised, like, because I saw a picture of the Providence Bruins game, and I'm looking at the upper bowl. I'm like, that's actually pretty deep. Like, I don't see the Dunk Center on TV ever. Like, you see a couple of clips here and there, but I don't see the balcony because, to Bridget, to your point, it's always empty. It's not like it's. So I was surprised. Like 14,000. That's a lot closer to the size of the Garden capacity wise than I would have thought.
Yeah, it's big. It's actually a really great venue to go watch hockey, basketball, a concert.
Yeah.
I Carrie Underwood there once.
There you go. No One Direction or Jonas Brothers?
No, I don't. That's a really sore subject. I've never had a chance to see One Direction play, and that will never happen. So that's
maybe they're
end on a really bad note, Brian. Thank you.
Sorry about that. All right, Scott. Any final thoughts from you?
Nope, nothing from me.
All right, I'll just let listeners know throughout the year you can expect Monday, Wednesday, Friday releases. This week is going to be a little bit different. The Bruins are off until Thursday night. It's a West Coast game out in Vegas, so we're gonna record next and release for Friday morning. So thank you all very much for listening, and we will talk to you then. Hey guys, thanks for watching this Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.